Hi, I'm Nahid from Synchron Media, and today I will share with you the tools necessary and the process by which you can integrate Metapixel on your website using Google Tag Manager. So let's jump right in. First, get familiar with the tools we require for this job. We will require a Google Tag Manager. If you have a Gmail address, then you have a Google account. And if you have a Google account, then by default, you have your own Google Tag Manager. On Google Tag Manager, we are going to create a web container. I will come later on what is a container and why we need it. Then we would require a Facebook pixel. All the user interaction data from your website would be sent to this Facebook pixel, which will allow Facebook to use the data to optimize your ad campaigns and allow you to run remarketing campaigns. Then we require a cloud platform to store all the event data. We're going to use Take.io, which is more cost efficient compared to Google Cloud Platform. It is also very user friendly. The interface is simple to use. Now let's get familiar with some basic concepts. For example, what is tag? So a tag is a code snippet. It runs on your website and sends all the data related with an event to whatever destination you choose to send it to. In this case, we are going to set up the tags so that event data is sent to your Facebook's pixel. Now, what is an event? So an event is any action a user takes on your website. We are concerned with 5 basic e-commerce events, which are landing page view. So a user clicks on your Facebook ad, on the shop now button, buy now button, or learn more button, whichever it is, and gets redirected to your website. The web page on which the user lands from your Facebook ad is called the landing page. After landing page view comes content view. User clicks on any product on your website. It is considered to be a content view event. If a user adds a product to cart or basket, it will be add to cart event, and subsequently there will be checkout and purchase event. Now I will show you in a little more detail how you're going to use these tools to create all the tags which will send event data to your Facebook's pixel. First, we need to connect Google Tag Manager with your website. And how do we do it? You go to your website's backend here. Because I'm showing you a WordPress website, you go to your website's WordPress admin dashboard. In the admin dashboard, we would first need to go to plugins. In plugins, add new plugin, and we have to type in GTM for WP. Install now, activate. Let's create a web container in my existing Google Tag Manager. For the test website, I'm going to work with create account. I'm going to name it similar to what I've named this test site. Country, in case my country is Bangladesh. You don't need to check in this box. Pending container setup. We're going to put our domain name and our TLD as well. Click on web, create, check the accept data processing terms box, click yes, wait just a little while, and there, our web container has been created in Google Tag Manager. So what we do now, instead of copy pasting all this code on our website, we just need this event Google Tag Manager ID. You copy the web container ID, go to your website's backend, in plugins, install plugins. We have already installed GTM for WP. Go to settings and just paste the Google Tag Manager ID here. Also, we need to keep this container code compatibility mode off, because we're not going to type in codes mostly to configure the container. Then we need to give it some more permissions. Before that, save changes. A couple more permissions we need to provide. We have to go to integration. In integration, we go to e-commerce, and in e-commerce we're going to click on order data in data layer, customer data in data layer, and track e-commerce. Only these three: track e-commerce, customer data in data layer, order data in data layer. Then we go to basic data, go to visitors, and we need to check these top 5 boxes. Okay, that's all we need for our basic setup of 5 e-commerce events. Save changes. And now, the container code on or off, we turn it on. Save changes. Okay, our job here in GTM for WP is done. We can now go back to Google Tag Manager. And if we press on preview, we provide our website's URL, connect. Our web page loads, and we can see that we have all the data being sent to our Google Tag Manager container, web container, because we just connected our Google Tag Manager with our GTM web container using this container ID. So next we're going to figure out how to set up a Facebook pixel. We're going to need it to send all the data to Facebook. So to create a Facebook pixel, you have to go to Facebook's Events Manager. So in your Facebook, you can click on the profile icon you have and get to any pages which you have. On the left side, you will see a navigation menu. From here, you have to click on Meta Business. Once your Meta Business Suite loads up, click on the All Tools option in the left navigation bar to go straight to Events Manager from here. Once in your Events Manager, you need to create a new data source. So you press on the green plus icon on your left navigation panel, and press on this connect data source. Then press on web because we're going to integrate a website. Connect, name the dataset. I will name the dataset very similar to my website's URL. Create. Now I just have to connect the my website with the Facebook's pixel using the URL. Press on the URL. Here you will copy paste your whole URL. Then check. Next. We're going to do a manual setup, so let's check do it yourself. Next. And we definitely want metapixel and conversions API. Conversions API setup will be covered in subsequent classes, but let's go on with it. Next. So it offers multiple options for setting up your metapixel and conversions API, partner integration, API gateway, etc. We're going to select setup manually, then press on next. Continue with your setup. Select events, but we're not going to work from here. Now that a preliminary version of our pixel has been created, we're going to go to the left panel and click on data sources. In data sources, we're going to find all the pixels we have created. Let's click on the newly created pixel, and for that and from the panel which opens up, we will click on setup metapixel. So in setup metapixel, you have the option to install code manually. We can just take this code and paste it on our website's backend, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do it the smart way. The smart way is going to settings. In settings, you have your dataset ID, which is basically your pixel ID. Now, the first event we're going to create the first event tag, we're going to create on our Google Tag Manager web container is the pixel basic code integration or pixel ID integration, which is also the page view event for Facebook pixel. So let's create it. We go back to our Google Tag Manager web container. Here we would first create a variable. Let's go to user defined variables, create new. In new variable configuration, we will select constant, because the pixel ID, it is not going to change. It will remain constant. So we selected the constant variable, and here in value, from the events manager settings, click on the dataset ID. It got copied to our clipboard, and just Ctrl V, paste it. Let's give it a name. Naming is really important in Google Tag Manager containers to keep track of all of your tags, and we will later see we require triggers and variables as well. Now, what I'm creating is a variable. A variable is a bit of data, or let's say any sort of information, which you are going to use multiple times in a wide range of different tags. That's why it is really helpful to create your variables first, then you create the triggers. Triggers are basically events. Triggers are what it is called in terms of tracking listeners. What do they listen for? They listen for any interaction a user has with your website. So whenever a user, let's say, scrolls on your website or clicks a button, if you have triggers set up in your Google Tag Manager, these triggers will be listening for all these user interactions on your website. Button press, scroll, or let's say product view, any sort of event. When a trigger finds out that a user has taken a specific action, that trigger will cause a tag to fire. A tag, as I said earlier, is a code snippet that sends event data to any destination you have decided, in this specific case, to your Facebook's pixel. So, I will try to repeat it for your benefit one more time. If we have a trigger setup that whenever someone clicks on the Add to Cart button, this event would be recognized. So the Add to Cart trigger keeps listening on your website for when someone clicks on the Add to Cart button. The moment a user clicks on the Add to Cart button, the trigger then fires a tag, and that tag sends your event data, your Add to Cart event data, to your Facebook pixel. Now, it will get easier as we move on further and show how we create variables, triggers, and tags. Okay, so let's get back to what we were doing. We'll call it empty pixel ID. Save it. Now, we have to create a trigger. Some basic triggers are already created in Google Tag Manager. We can just choose it from there. We will choose the page view. What is going to happen now that whenever someone gets to your website, let's say someone types in your website's URL, opens your website, your landing page has been viewed. So a landing page view event has been created, and the listener, the triggers we have set up in our Google Tag Manager web container will identify this event, and it will be considered as a page view event. So we call it the page view event. Now we want to send this data from our website. Now we want to send this data from our web container to our Facebook pixel. We have to create a tag for that. In tag configuration, this is the default library of Google Tag Manager. This does not contain the tag template, which is a already written for us code for the Facebook Pixel events. So we can go to discover more tag types in the community template gallery. Search for Facebook Pixel. There we have it. Facebook Pixel. This template or bit of JavaScript code was created by Facebook Archive. Click on it. Add to workspace. Just add it. Now, if you check in your default GTM gallery, under the custom heading, the Facebook Pixel template has showed up. Here we just put in the Facebook Pixel ID. We have already created a variable for it. So what you do, press on Shift, 2 second brackets, and then all the variables you have in your web container would show up. We can search it for easily by writing pixel ID. That's why I was saying that naming is extremely important in Google Tag Manager. It's a standard page view event. We don't have to select anything else, just connect the trigger with it. For the trigger, we will have here the page view event we created. Well, we already have the all pages page view event by default. These are basically the same things, but if you create the triggers yourself, then you can keep track of what exactly you changed in those triggers. Save, and we're going to name it LP page view. Save. Okay, it's done. But now we're lacking a space to store our event data. We have set up the variable, trigger, and tag so that whenever a visitor comes to our website, they view any of our web pages, it would be considered an event, and that event would be tracked with our Google Tag Manager container setup, and the tag would send event data to Facebook. But this data would not be stored. To store the data, we need to create a Google Tag Manager server-side container. We can cover the server-side container in state.io. So if you just go to state.io and click on sign up, you will see an interface like this. You just put in your email. If you are inside the EU zone, you will have to select EU, otherwise select global, check the terms of use and privacy notice box, and just sign in. So I already have a state.io account created. So let's sign in. Here we are going to create a SGTM container, which is basically a server-side GTM containers. So I can press on the create container, and that's the interface I get. For the container name, I'm going to put in the portion of my web URL name. which I have been using for my Google Tag Manager and Pixel to keep track of it. In container configuration, here we are going to have to put the configuration key we get when we create a server container. So we go to our Google Tag Manager, and in Google Tag Manager we will get to home of Google Tag Manager. Here we are going to create a server container now. So how to create a server container? In the same Google Tag Manager account, Syntron CAPI 1, in which we are working with the web container, we can click on this three-dot menu and press on Create Container. Container name would be the same as the web container. Just to differentiate, I'm going to put in the word server after the container name and select server. Create. That's it, our server container got created. Once we've created our server container, we immediately get this pop-up box which helps us to set up our tagging server. This tagging server is what I've been talking about. What we are going to create on state.io or any cloud platform. In this tagging server, we are going to store all our event data. So, automatically provision a tagging server. This is when we're creating our tagging server on Google Cloud Platform. We're not going to use Google Cloud Platform for now because it is both more expensive and far more complicated, has a far more complicated user interface. So we will select manually provision tagging server, and this your container configure is. Just click on the copy icon, paste it here in container configuration. By the way, we should put the same server word here as well, and then server's location. So it is giving us the option to choose where we are going to physically store our data. So the physical server, we should select a place which is closest to our own location, so the data transfer does not have too much latency. Create container. We're not going to choose any subscription plan now, so we will just skip it, and we can go to free, continue with free plan. From here, you click on back to GTM container, and we have our GTM container ready. Now, to complete our server setup, we need to create custom domains and add the DNS records of those custom domains to our website's hosting server, which I will show on a later lesson. For now, we're just going to take this domain name here, click on it to copy, go to our Google Tag Manager. This is our server container. Click on admin. In container settings, you have the option to add URL. Paste the domain name, the tagging server URL provided by state.io, and you can just save it. So connection between our server container, see, tagging server manually configured with state.io, um, tagging server has been established. All our event data would now be stored on step.io. So we shall go back to creating our Facebook pixel events, but before that, we would need to activate our data layer. What is data layer? Let's go to our website's backend from where we are going to activate data layer. We have already done it when we went into integration. We went into plugin, selected our GTM for WP plugin. From here, we selected GTM for WP, went to settings, and in the integration options with WooCommerce, we have already activated data layer. Customer data in data layer, order data in data layer. We're going to get all the e-commerce event related data layer we need. What is the data layer? It is better to see than any sort of explanation. So to check out the data layer, we should go to our Google Tag Manager, web container, here we will have to click on the preview button, connect. Our website's landing page loads. We go to the Tag Assistant. In Tag Assistant, we will see that many events have already been by default recognized by Google Tag Manager, and all the event data is being sent to Tag Assistant. From these events, let's select View Item List. In View Item Lists, we have tags, variables, data layer. None of these were set up. So by default, Google Tag Manager is collecting the event data for the View Item List event. No tags were set up, no variables were set up. These variables are default variables. None of them were set up manually. Here you have the data layer. So the data layer is all the data which is generated whenever a user takes any action on our website. For specifically the view item event, view item list event, this portion of the data layer is relevant. Now, as I said before, we're going to set up 5 basic e-commerce tags which will get us the event data to Facebook Pixel. This data layer is where the event data is going to come from, and we are going to learn how to dynamically send all the information, all the data we want related to an event to be sent to our Facebook Pixel. So what does dynamically send data mean? Let's check it. If we go to our website test page, and and click on inspect. When we go to this more tabs option, we can see the simple data layer viewer live here. So let's see what happens whenever we take some action on our website. For example, we click on our product, which should be the view content event. Here in view content event, we are getting in the data, e-commerce, currency, value, items, etc. etc. This is the event, view item event. And on our tag assistant, if we go to the preview page, we have opened in which is connected to our tag assistant. Let's click on inspect here, go to more tabs, click on simple data layer viewer, and we can see if we click on a product, because the content has been viewed or an item has been viewed, we would have this view item event. This is the information related to the item, the product, which is being viewed. There is an item ID. It is unique to this product. Item name, assorted coffee. Then you have SKU, the specific unit ID. Price 35. We have currency in USD. So in the price, we're just seeing number. We also have other data like stock level, stock status, item category, etc. etc. Now, let's say if we add this product to cart, and we go to view cart, we have a single product. We had another product in our cart, so let's do it again. Return to shop, assorted coffee. We clicked on this product, added this product to cart, then we press on view cart. See here on the view cart page, we have the price of the product as 35. The information remains the same for e-commerce portion, as the same we had for the view item portion or view content portion. We have the same item ID, item name, SKU, price, 35. It is the same. But this is often not the case in real life. In real life usage, users might add multiple products to cart. So if a user, let's say, adds 3 of the assorted coffees to the cart, and we go to view cart, our subtotal has become 175. That is the value of our cart. If we now proceed to checkout, We can go back to our tag assistant to check the data with, let's say, begin checkout event. As you can see in e-commerce, our currency USD value has become 175, the total value of the card. Similar on our website, if we take a look at our um, the data layer viewer plugin we have added here is not showing up the value properly, but the value would be, in this case, 175 for the 3 units of assorted coffee, just like we have on our website's front end. Subtotal has been added and increased. This sort of change in the data layer this sort of change in the values of data layer are called dynamic value, and we want to set up e-commerce events so we can send dynamic value to our Facebook pixel. Now, how to do it? So we need to get to our Google Tag Manager web container. In the web container, first we create the variables. These variables could be related to data layer. So we are going to take data layer value. Now, first let's figure out which specific data we want to send for the add to cart event. So we can have a total value of the let's first check out which data from the data layer we want to send for the checkout event. So we have a grasp of how we can send the total value in our card, which is for 3 units of assorted coffee, 175 US dollars. How we can send it to our Facebook pixel. So for the checkout event, we need to create multiple variables. These variables are, let's say, so we need content name. Where does the content name come from? Like here we have item name. Item name, the word item is replaceable with content. Here we are seeing the GA4 schema, how GA4 writes the codes. For the same thing, Facebook uses their own schema, and they instead of the word item use content. Because we are sending the data to Facebook's pixel, we will be writing the codes which are appropriate for Facebook schema. So in Facebook analytics schema, we have content name. This is going to be a custom JavaScript code. We have content IDs, product IDs, value. From data layer, we will get the value. Here we can see in data layer the value is 175, and the currency. In data layer, we can create here currency is fixed for this website, but if we want, we can create a dynamic currency as well for websites which have multiple currencies, both dollar, pound, euro, etc. So we are going to start creating the variables, but before that, let me show you what is the importance of having these custom JavaScripts for product names and product IDs. The importance is basically, instead of just a single type of product, if our card has multiple types of products, let's say we go to the home and add more products, more different products to our cart. We have added 3 assorted coffees. Now let's add a hand sanitizer and even natural extracted oil. Let's say we add 2 more hand sanitizers to our cart and 1 natural extracted edible oil to our cart. Now, if we view our cart, the subtotal value has changed. Also, we do not have a single type of product. Every different product has its own name and it has its own product ID. Let's proceed to checkout and we go to our tag assistant to see what the situation is right now. So if we go to our new begin checkout, the total value has changed to 230, just like we can see in our checkout page right now. Total value of our cart is 230, and we have a bunch of different items. So we have one item ID, one item or content with item ID 168. Name is assorted coffee. Another with item ID 241. Name is hand sanitizer. Just like here, we have assorted coffee, hand sanitizer, natural extracted edible oil. Here we have natural extracted edible oil. So we want to send in this single checkout event. For this single checkout event, we want to send all the product data related to this checkout event to our Facebook pixel. And what does that mean? We have to send data for all the different products and the quantity, the number of products our user has selected on our site and clicked on the checkout button. So their cart does not only have multiple products, multiple units of products, they also have multiple types of products. And to differentiate between those types, we need to send their product names and product IDs, for which we're going to use a custom JavaScript. Now, let's create all the necessary variables first in our Google Tag Manager web container. We need a data variable for, let's see, currency. So how do we name this variable? We can find the information on our data layer. Let's go to our tag assistant. In tag assistant, we have been looking in our data layer until on this API call portion, we can see that we have uh, the portion of the data layer that is relevant for our begin checkout event. Here we do have the currency um, code in our data layer, but the currency code is subordinate to e-commerce. So how do we know that? When any bit of code has the second bracket before it, it is called a subordinate to the portion before that. So after e-commerce, we have a second bracket, and then we have currency. So after e-commerce, we have this colon. This means after this colon, whatever information comes, it is under e-commerce portion, beginning with the second bracket, and this second bracket will have a closing portion as well. This is where the second bracket closes. So beginning with this second bracket, we have the second bracket closing here. So all these lines of code are inside e-commerce, are subordinate to e-commerce. So when we are going to write the information in our variable, which we are creating in our Google Tag Manager variable, we would have to write it like this. E-commerce dot currency. This dot suggests that currency is subordinate to e-commerce. We're going to name this variable as DLV for data layer variable currency. Save. Then we're going to create a bunch of other variables. Let's do it real fast. With data layer variable, we require the value. This value will give us information from the data layer about the total value of the cart during the checkout event. We can simply name it DLV value. We need to create a few other variables, but these variables are going to be custom JavaScript variables. So how do we create that? We go to new, variable configuration, click on custom JavaScript, we can call it custom JavaScript product reviews. Another custom JavaScript variable, as we selected, one for content IDs, which are product IDs basically. check with the custom JavaScript variable. Let's see it. Okay, so we have all the variables we need. Now we need to set up the trigger. We need to create a custom trigger for the checkout event, and this will be a custom event name, begin checkout. Now finally we are going to create the tag for checkout initiated, which will be sent to our Facebook pixel. Now let's create the new tag configuration. We're going to select Facebook pixel, template, Facebook pixel ID. It's a standard event, initiate checkout for Facebook. So we can name it the same. After that, we would need to create a few object properties under it. Add a few properties. We're going to add these properties here. So in property name, we have content type, which is product. After that, we're going to add the trigger begin checkout event, which we just created. Now save it. After saving it, we have to publish it. Now we can go to the test site we have kept open with our tag assistant and check with the pixel helper if we have the checkout initiated event properly set up. So let's go to our card and click on checkout. So while we click on checkout, we can see that the initiate checkout event has fired, and we have all the data, content type, currency, value being sent to our pixel, Facebook pixel. So in the same manner, we can create all the 5 events in our web container for our Facebook pixel, and send all the event data dynamically to our Facebook pixel. So I think that is enough for today's lesson. On the next lesson, we will move on to how we can test these events in our Facebook pixels event manager. We will require to add the test event code to our server container, and then we can get the test event data sent directly to our Facebook pixel.